Rarely has a player come along who's intrigued me like Lauren Betts. At 6'7", she's a callback to the traditional centers of yesteryear, but where does she fit in this new era of space and pace? And most importantly, will her game translate? To understand where Lauren's huge potential lies, we have to start with the promise of her game-changing defense. For starters, you probably didn't even realize that Lauren lost weight going into her senior year. Last season, she played exclusively as a drop and level coverage big, where she was able to shut off the paint from attackers in pick and roll. Over the last 2 seasons, Lauren has posted a monstrous 8.5 block percentage, and her opponents are shooting only 49% at the rim with Betts in the lineup, a testament to her game-changing rim protection. Players routinely underestimate her foot speed to keep up with wings and forwards on the perimeter, and on the inverse, guards underestimate her closing speed to contest jumpers while playing off ball screens. This season, UCLA mixed their coverages up a bit more, asking her to switch onto the perimeter, and this is the main reason her block percentage dropped this year compared to last year. But we saw flashes of her versatility and just how difficult it is to score on her when she switched onto the speedy Jelani Cambridge for most of their Big Ten tournament game. I was honestly amazed by Lauren's foot speed this year and how the loss of weight made a difference. I mean, she turns to a full-on sprint to chase down Mila Holloway in transition, and what I'd say is the closest thing we'll get to a 40-yard dash in the sport. She occasionally has moments where she's caught flat-footed. This hezzy is impossible for her to recover from, and I actually think UCLA's switching scheme, while impressive in showcasing her solid perimeter ability, took away her best asset, which is still protecting the rim. Betts doesn't have an explosive jump off the ground. She doesn't block this shot despite being on time with the rotation, but there are so many times where she barely needs to leave her feet or travel that far because her height and wingspan does the job. She always has pretty good awareness and reaction time to make 2-on-1 plays at the rim pretty often, but I wouldn't say she's an elite switch defender, especially not last year, and this brings into question what's the ideal weight for her to play at the next level, because the weight factor will have rippling effects on the rebounding aspect of her game too. She's a very strong offensive rebounder, but I'm not sure if she's strong enough to be as impactful on the glass as some of her collegiate numbers would indicate. If we compare her numbers to some of the better offensive rebounders in the WNBA during the Hoop Explorer era and look at their collegiate numbers, Lauren's offensive rebound percentage drops pretty noticeably against stronger, more physical competition. It also isn't at the level of some of the other monster rebounders in recent WNBA history, and her profile is closer to an Anissa Morrow, which isn't bad by any means, but certainly doesn't project her to have tier 1 offensive rebound influence at the next level. I think the biggest separator between her and some of these rebounding titans is her feel away from the ball. She doesn't look to fill the lane here, which could lead to a layup or better inside position, but her arms are still long enough to get the board. And she also rarely high points the ball, which she can get away with against shorter players, but it won't be nearly as effective against taller, more physical bigs. She does have moments where she gets into good position for rebounds. She also has good hands to reach back for the ball and gets putbacks quite frequently there. And her long arms are genuinely insane. Even when she gets moved out of the way on box outs, she's still able to get in position for some of these. But her high center of gravity is a problem because she's pretty skinny for her height, so she lacks the functional strength to move bigger wings and stockier bigs. She also brings the ball down after her rebounds, which, while it is a problem, can be corrected with good coaching. And this high center of gravity makes it tough for her to get inside position on offense in the post. Two of the most physical bigs in this draft, Oldacre and Beers, both owned her on defense in the post, where you saw Betts' slimmer frame pose a problem. Even in her revenge game against Texas in the Final Four, she only had a 1-to-1 rim to non-rim shot attempt ratio, so she wasn't really carving out easy looks for herself either, despite having a very good shot-making game. Betts is no doubt one of the most dominant post scorers in college history. Her 1.1 points per possession on post-ups is 4th best since 2016 among volume post scorers, ahead of players like Naz Hillman, Liz Kitley, and Angel Reese. So the numbers support that she's a good post scorer, but that doesn't mean she'll be an effective one at the next level. Remember, Synergy only tracks players that Betts chooses to post up. In this case, it's often smaller players that are lighter than her, but at her new weight, she hasn't been able to be effective at all against bigger players and has been fading away and taking longer 2-point shots to compensate. So this is what prevents me from calling her an all-time post weapon in college, and it gives me pause for her offense as presently constructed to be able to translate to the next level. Her free throw percentage is only at 62.5% over her college career, which makes jump shot improvements murky based on her touch indicators, but I won't say it's out of the equation given the volume of non-paint shots she took last year. The question I have is if the changed shot diet is actually better for her long term. UCLA's offense is built around her, and despite the overwhelming amount of talent producing an elite college offense, it often bogged down at times when the emphasis was on getting Lauren an entry pass when she can't get good positioning. There's no doubt that Lauren is a very good post weapon at the college level, and because smaller teams are scared of her taking over a game with her scoring, it opens up passing windows for her when teams double. Her passing in non-double team situations is solid but not spectacular for her position. She delays slightly in making this skip pass in the short roll, and she doesn't look for outlet pass opportunities very often either. I think one of the more underrated parts of Lauren's game this season has been her transition scoring. The added mobility has empowered her to run the floor more often this year, which has set her up for easier shots near the basket. And UCLA actually sets it up for Betts to look for these early scoring opportunities, which could have some pretty strong value relative to position if she can maintain this mobility at the next level. So, what does this mean for Lauren's functionality on offense? Well, I think she does have a very good catch radius, which is how a decent bit of her baskets out of the post come from, and I think she can be a solid passer to find cutters too, but she'll have to revamp her entire game as an offensive player to be a screen and roller and provide some off-ball value besides rebounding, and right now she's a dreadful screener. Betts tends to avoid contact on her screens, moving out of the way instead of setting the tone here, and I actually think her screens make it harder for her guards to get downhill instead of easier. Now, we've seen bad screeners turn into good ones at the next level. Aaliyah Boston and Kiki Iriafen are two recent examples of this, but both players had a stockier frame than Lauren. Notice how her leg buckles in when she sets this screen, a sign she's a bit too skinny right now. Whichever team that drafts Lauren will need to develop this part of her game to ensure she's not a negative on offense at the next level, but still, her ceiling fascinates me. She's already a decently efficient scorer because of her height and length, posing threats near the basket, and I think she'll add strength as she matures. But it's unlikely she'll ever be a classic post scorer, and I think she should at best be your third offensive player on a serious team, but a jump in physicality could add another layer to her game, not just as a scorer, but as a rebounder and defender, and it can escalate her defense to an all-world level. And if that happens, Lauren Betts is a starting center at worst, and perhaps, if the screen and rolling develops, she could even be something more. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it to the end, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. We are just about a week away from the WNBA draft, so I'll still be dropping a couple more prospect videos in the coming days and my big board at the end of the week. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.